Hi, everyone, and welcome to the workshop as part of the IOX buddy system. We will start right now. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a vitally important topic which you're all interested in. It's studying abroad, and we have a very special guest who is not connected directly to the IO, but she is a good friend of ours, Kseniya. An overachiever, as I call her, and an international student with lots of experience. So today, I'm sorry, it's summer in Moscow finally, so children outside are just, I don't know, crazy, making crazy sounds, so you can hear it on the background, but don't pay attention to it. So today, Ksenia will share her tips, hints, secrets about studying abroad. You are very welcome to ask your questions in the chat, or after her presentation, you can turn your mic on and just explain your situation, maybe share some thoughts, and we will discuss it. So hello, Ksenia. Thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the kind introduction. You always give me the best introduction. That's I really love meeting with you. Yeah, so hi everyone. Feel free to turn on your cameras or mics if you want to. If you don't want to, that's okay. So my name is Ksenia, and today I'm going to talk about things I wish I knew before I studied abroad, or some things I wish others knew, because it turned out that I was quite prepared for studying abroad, not as many of my classmates. Anyway, so a little bit about me. I'm from Belarus originally. In 2018, I graduated from UWC Changshu, China. I'm not sure if any of you ever heard about UWC, but it's like the greatest international school in the world, and you can get full scholarship to study there. So if you do not know about UWC, go check UWC. And if you have any questions about it, I can also talk a little bit about it in the end of the presentation, which I hope, fingers crossed, will be quite short so that you can ask me questions, because it's a very, very broad topic. So it's not that I can like raise everything important in like this couple of minutes that I have with you, but I hope at least I can answer the questions that you're going to have. Anyway, so right now I'm studying at the University of Rochester in New York State. I'm studying international relations, English, language, media, and communications track, and psychology. Last spring 2020, I went to Uppsala University in Sweden to study abroad. It's very weird, right? Like I'm abroad and they still call it study abroad, but though I was like much closer to home than I've ever been. Anyway, I have over 5 years of journalism, copyright, and photography experience. I've been working as a journalist since like very, very young age. That's how I met our today's admin. It was on Twitter, and we were talking about sports, and then I decided to become a sports journalist. So just fun fact. Anyway, I have over 4 years of teaching experience. I'm teaching English, specifically business English. I'm an education and brand consultant. I can create promotive webinars regarding motivation and time management, especially for teenagers / school children. And I did a research on Belarusian and Russian relationships last semester, which I spent at home. So, close to the topic. Some things I wish I knew before I went abroad. Number one, you're going to be all by yourself. It's very, very surprising, right? But the thing is that like you're going to carry your huge suitcases by yourself. You're going to fill in immigration docs by yourself. You're going to pay taxes in another country by yourself. So when I first came to China, my English was like, I mean, it was good according to Belarusian standards. I was in a bunch of Olympiads. But when I came there, I honestly did not understand anything for like first maybe 3 days. And then boom, I started to understand everything. Why? I don't really know, but I think my biggest reason for that is that I got this like huge pile of immigration documents and pretty much was told to fill them in like right away. I could not call my mom and be like, Mom, could you like fill them, or could you like ask a lawyer to fill them? I didn't have time for that, and money because it's like super expensive. So I had to fill the documents by myself, and then I think my English just improved. And in a couple of weeks, I already started to teach English. So I don't know. Um, Thing number two, which I think I'm still struggling with, but you really should not. So there is no shame in you being rich or poor or middle class or whatever else. when I just came to China, my classmates and like my group of friends specifically were kids from like very wealthy countries like Denmark, Norway, and like US, Hong Kong, and then it was me. And like of course the standard of living in Belarus and the standard of living it like in developed countries, it's like a huge topic. But like I always felt uncomfortable kind. I mean, I hate saying I felt uncomfortable. That's not the thing. I just was sad probably because I could not afford stuff that they were able to afford, and though my friends were always like, "Come over to this expensive restaurant, we'll pay for you." I didn't like that. Like, I mean, I don't think that my friends have to pay for me just because I'm from a poor country, and that's why I went to work straight away. I mean, still didn't manage to earn as much money as their parents, but I'm on the way to be as good as they are. Yeah, then it's two things for some reason. Anyway, if something disappoints you about others' behaviors, words, say it and don't be passive aggressive. So there's like a huge struggle that you're going to face when you come abroad, like whenever you go, especially if you're going to be like in a very diverse environment with like people from all around the world. Sometimes, I would even say quite often, people would say or do something that would offend you, but like maybe not Russians, because Russians are very hard to offend. Like we're used to hear like anything, but if you're from another country, maybe people would say like something that you would not like, and instead of like getting angry at them straight away or getting like very disappointed at that, just talk to them. In most of the cases, they do not mean to like hurt you or to offend you. It's just like they say something that's acceptable somewhere else, but it's not acceptable like in the new society. Usually, I would say Russians would be those who would say weird things that people do not like, just because, again, I mean, I always explain them like I was born and raised in a totalitarian country, blah blah blah, and it's kind of stupid, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. And when you like come to a democracy, you see like freedom of speech the first time in your life, you have a choice the first time in your life, and you're like, wow, I sometimes should think about what I'm saying, but still learning that. So just always like whenever, and like also tell people that you're comfortable with them approaching you and being like, I don't like what you said or I don't like what you did. Then be ready for people to sympathize with you and then talk behind your back. Again, in our like, I think when we're at home, it's just more, I would say like more usual for people like to sympathize with each other, like from their heart. But at the same time, when you go abroad, people will be like, yes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But then they would just go and talk behind your back and be like, he is or she is a failure. And look what happened. And it happens a lot, especially like in school or college. And that's just like something that you need to be prepared to as well. I think it's not that I'm going to say that your best friends are going to be people from your country. It's more that you could trust people from your country more because you're kind of like in the same place. You came from the same place and you're in the same position. So I think like you could better relate to them rather than to the foreigners. So being a foreigner doesn't grant you a job. Sometimes it's quite the opposite. That's like a very disappointing fact, especially in the US. Like international students struggle a lot with finding a job because it's like also very expensive for an employer to hire an international student, especially if you're not like STEM, science, technology, engineering, math major. Um, and be like if you even come back home, you could also like face a huge struggle to get a job just because of like these diplomas, and you have to like translate them and you have to make sure that they like qualify for the job like at your home place. So being a foreigner somewhere like hard in terms of jobs. I got a question about like how to find internships, which I think we could also raise a little bit in the end of the presentation, but pretty much internships there is I think it's going to be very stupid basic advice, but you just go and search for it. Google, LinkedIn, Indeed, any other like website specific to the country where you want to go or where like you want to do a remote internship. You just go and search. Takes hours and hours of like reading the same information, but yeah, I mean that's what I gotta do. So You can change your name if you want. That's the point that I find very important, because like when I came to China, I have this very hard, unpronounceable name for foreigners, Ksenia. So when I came to China, I never thought about like changing my name, not like officially, but like for introducing myself in a different way. But then like Chinese people usually change, like they have their English names because no one will be able to pronounce their names. And it's normal, like people just like go to a new place and they like introduce this themselves like with a different name, and that's considered totally okay. So like if you think like you have an unpronounceable name, or if you just do not like your name, like you can just introduce yourself with any other name in the world, and no one would ever question that. So there are also going to be some definitions that you still have to learn. For me, I think the definitions that I'm not really getting, like the biggest definition that I don't really get is community. I do not understand what is community. I don't think in Belarus communities exist. I mean, by its official definition, they do exist, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's a community. Anyway, so be ready like to learn some new stuff and some definitions which you kind of like you understand what they mean, but at the same time you could not relate to them. So that's going to be very, very interesting. You don't have to apologize and reason yourself all the time. I do, but I have a friend. She is a PhD student in the university. She's from Poland. She's a grown-up lady, and she keeps telling me, she's like, Ksenia, please stop apologizing to people. You have to be like concrete and direct, and you have to be like, I think that. And you never have to like, not never. I mean, you apologize if you did something wrong, clearly, but if it's just like a regular conversation, and people from other countries, especially like, I mean, my Chinese high school was like super diverse. We were kids from like over 100 countries there. But in the US, like most of my classmates are American or Chinese. So like American would try to like make you apologize, not like make you. It's just the manner, their manner of speech, like the just the way they behave. You would feel like you need to apologize. You don't need to apologize. And the last point is taking into consideration life circumstances of other people is necessary. So it kind of relates back to this point about like this being disappointed slash angry at others' behaviors, words, um, because you need to like think about like where did those people come from? What's happening at home now? Maybe their like home country is in a state of war, or maybe there is like a pandemic in their home country, for example. Like people have various circumstances, and you have to take them into consideration when you like start talking to them, because that will help you understand them better and actually not be passive aggressive and mad at what they say. And the last biggest point, do not hold expectations. No matter where you're planning to go, no matter what you're planning to do, or planning to work or planning to study, your education abroad experience is not going to be the way you think about it. It's going to be completely different. And I would love to say that it's up to you which way it will go, but it's not necessarily up to you. So you have like what you think, you have what you want to do, but there are a lot of things, especially like people around you and the country you're gonna go to, that will change your education abroad experience, and you never know what it will turn into. All right, so that's everything I had for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I knew this story partly, but I still enjoyed it. I always like to listening to you. And I had some kind of poll in the chat. And though our viewers are from India, Poland, Indonesia, Nepal, almost all of them want to study in the US. So can you share your experience of studying in the US generally, not about not only as a foreigner, but as a student? Uh, Also, what do you think about American education and what we should be prepared for if you want to study there?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, comparing with what I hear from other people, like a lot of my high school friends, like from Belarus, most of my friends like stayed in Eastern Europe, like Belarus, Poland, and Russia. My friends from China, a lot of us went to the US, but a lot of them also stayed in the UK or in the Netherlands. And based on like what I hear from other people, I still think that the US education is the best. Yes, it's super expensive, and if you do not get the scholarship, it's going to be a huge struggle. But at the same time, it depends on like what you want to study and which university you go to, because like there are universities that are more focused on like STEM majors. And of course, like if you want to like do literature or journalism, do not go to those universities. That's kind of the mistake that I made. Like my university is very like research based, and I didn't do enough research before coming here. So I mean, it's not that I'm very disappointed in my university. I'm not disappointed at all. Like I would still apply here if I went back, but just I think my biggest advice is like research the universities you want to go to like very, very closely. Just because Harvard is good doesn't mean that Harvard is good for you. And regarding the education in the US in general, I don't know. Like I think I I'm very confused with answering this question all the time, because I mean it's just normal. Like we do have different classes, we have like huge lectures, we have very small seminars, and you have like you have thousands of classes to select from, and you also can like I think the best thing that the US colleges give, like US liberal arts colleges give, is that you can like try out new things. So in my school, like in order to graduate, I was made to try natural sciences. I hate natural sciences, so I did neuroscience, brain and cognitive science, the hardest thing I've done in my life, but I really enjoyed that. So kind of gives you a space to explore and think maybe you want to study something else. Maybe journalism or engineering is not exactly what you wanted, because like we go to the university, like thinking about what we want to study, but at the same time when we come in, we're like, oh, maybe another thing. I don't know, because we don't really know like what people of our jobs like do like in real life. So do research before applying to the universities. That's my biggest advice. But although I don't think that you'll be disappointed, do research about their campus life as well. Will you like them having like sororities, fraternities on campus? If no, do not apply to the universities where they have a Greek life, because it takes like a huge part of the school. Do you want some specific club? Maybe you do some specific sports, or maybe you do something else. Like find a school that will like fulfill your interests, or maybe find a school where you can like set up your own club, for example. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you have like more concrete questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. So we have a question in the chat. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to get a scholarship?
Honestly, I don't. It's an interesting fact, because I never applied for like when I was coming to the US, I didn't apply for like some extended like scholarships outside of the university. So I have a Davis scholarship, which is like the university like from my high school, but like I'll type United World Colleges. Just go search for this if you have time / if you're interested. I have a scholarship from there. Plus, I also applied for like U.S. universities are usually divided into like need-based financial aid and merit-based financial aid. So merit-based financial aid is like based on your performance, like your grades at school, your like interests, your other achievements, and need-based scholarship is based on like your needs, because what U.S. colleges try to do is that like if you have money, like if your parents have money or if you earn money, give it to them, which is like it's fair, because for example, like it's kind of ridiculous, but based on like my tax report and my parents' tax report, I can pay $150 a semester. So I pay $150 a semester. So it's like such a small amount of money, because education at my university costs around like 50,000, but I paid this $150 because that's what I can afford. Somebody pays the entire 50,000. Somebody doesn't pay anything. And regarding scholarships, like specifically, first of all, talk to admissions office at your university. Explain the circumstances. Be like, I'm from here and here. That's what I want to study. Is there like any advice on any scholarship I would apply to? Admissions office and financial aid office. They might send something like specific to your university. Then actually like read your university's website. Like a lot of universities have like specific funds that created like by the sponsors of the university. But like the scholarship that apply to all the universities, again, I think like there is a scholarship website. I don't remember how it's called, but like pretty much if you type like get a scholarship for study in the US, is going to be like one of the first websites, and just go around there, because the scholarships like change all the time. So you could apply to all of them. But pretty much my advice is like the more like achievements, or how I call it, things to brag about you have, the more chances you have to get a scholarship. Because like you have to actually have to be like, I am the best person in the world. That's why you need to give money to me, even though it's not necessarily true. But that's what everyone does, and that's what you should do too.
So yeah, we will have a short break here. Ksenia, you can breathe in and out because your flow of information is just wow. So I wanted to remind that last year we had almost the same meeting with an IO alumni, Jan van Yoon from New Zealand, who told about his process of applying to Stanford and studying at Stanford. And I just sent a link into the chat. Here it is. So if you're interested in applying to super top universities, and he also talking there about scholarships on all the things. So I recommend you. And we have actually two questions which are connected to the achievements you were talking about. The first is about your extracurriculars. I guess it's about some activities that are not directly connected to the studying process. What have you been doing during your studies and what you're doing now? So that's the question.
Okay, so when I was applying to China, they asked me for like any diplomas I had. So I was playing chess for 10 years, and I had a bunch of diplomas of that for that. But then I also was submitting literally everything, like my school Olympiads. I submitted a diploma from the poetry contest I won in Poland when I was 4. That's how it was. So like the more stuff you have, the better. When you're applying to university, it's like more high school focused. So like pretty much like everything you've done in high school, whatever it is. Like if you're interested in like theater, you had like some theater classes, write about that. If it's like some sports, write about sports. If maybe you're doing some volunteering, write about volunteering. Maybe you're helping your parents. Like even if it's such a like thing, maybe I don't know, like maybe your parents have disability, for example, and you're happy, like you're really helping them in the household, and like the household relies on you. Tell about that. Pretty much like everything you're doing is important. And you know what's more important? It's more important the way you're going to speak about it rather than the thing itself. Um, because it could be some like very cool achievement, like I don't know, you like went abroad, won some cool Olympiad, won scholarship there, but then you poorly write about it in like one sentence, and everyone would be like, mm. But then if it's like some small thing, like I don't know, you have like a farm, horses, and you are taking care of the horses. Who cares about someone taking care of their horses? No one. That's a lie. If you like really write with passion about how you were taking care of your horses, people will be like, wow, that's incredible. So pretty much like, do not underestimate everything like you do, and just try to do something. I mean, even like I was just about to say, like my roommate, she really loves playing video games, and I'm like always like, Samantha, you're 22 years old, you're going to grad school, stop playing video games so much. But even that, like if you really write about like playing video games and how it benefits you, like my nephew is like learning English through playing video games. That also works.
Okay, we have a question about GPA. It is advised that you should have consistent GPAs. What if my GPA keep improving from 2.7 to 3.7 to furthermore? I'm interested in top school, but I'm not sure whether would I have a disadvantage due to that case. So is the GPA so important?
So I would say that my GPA was lower than my university wanted, and my test scores were lower than my university wanted. But my university kind of has high standards. Like my university is pretty much one of like the schools that go straight after Ivy schools. So we have the criteria of Ivy schools. Pretty much everyone who goes here are people who didn't get in Ivy, or didn't get scholarships in Ivy League, or just wanted to come here, like me. I didn't apply to the Ivy League. I applied straight to the University of Rochester. So about GPA, I would lie if I say that it's not important. I would say that it still is, but it's more important that like consistent GPA. Yeah, I mean that's kind of cool. Just try to like not drop it like way much lower. So try to grow a little bit. It's better to have like 2.3 than 2.5 than like 2.6 than to have 3.8 and then 3.6 and then 3.5. It's so much better to grow rather than to go down. So at least like your last semesters at school, try to like make it gradually higher, but it's not like necessary. The universities will look at a bunch of other things. So yes, GPA is important, and no, it's not the most important thing. It's as important as everything else. And again, depending on the university and depending on the program you're applying to, because since I wanted to be a journalist, for me GPA was like they looked at my like publications, at my translations more at my GPA. I think just because, I mean, at the end of the day, my math grade does not influence like my journalism skills at all. And like it also depends on like if either university is liberal arts college or not liberal arts, because liberal arts, like where you can choose, like you can select your subjects. So like if you have bad grades in natural sciences, clear you're not gonna do natural sciences, so they would not care much. However, the university is like more focused on like they have specific program. Here it might make a difference. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, yes. One more question from me. When you were studying in China, was it so hard to live in Chinese environment without knowledge of Chinese language? Because many of our alumni, for example, at the AO, they go to study in Italy or in Spain, in Bocconi University in Milan. So is it hard to live in an environment where English is not the main language?
Yeah, that's why I like discussion because my school was a bubble. It was a bubble of international students. So at school there was like no problems with language at all. As soon as we went outside of school, yes, it was a problem. The first time I came to Shanghai, like I there was nothing in English and I was like so lost and confused. So yes, it's hard, especially since it's Chinese. Like if you know English and you come to Italy, you would be able at least to read the names of the streets. In China, you do not have this opportunity. So I would say it's beneficial though because it improved my Chinese quickly because like you kind of have to learn. Like for example, like even ordering an Uber, not an Uber. I don't remember how the Chinese Uber is called. Anyway,
Didi maybe something like this.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I haven't been in China for a while. So like you have to communicate with like drivers and like order it like specific street, like specific characters. And then at first it's like so confusing, but then you get used to it and like your language also improves. So yes, it's hard. Like, but I know a lot of people are scared of like going to a non-English slash non-their language speaking environment. Like Americans are terrified. Most of the Americans go to study abroad to England or to Australia just because of the English. But you know what? I think it's a very tiny issue. If you have problems, like if you're scared, that's what I always say. If you're scared, like to like get lost, if you're scared that people would not understand you, learn another language.
Yeah, it's said often that learning another language let you obtain another soul. So it's like you get another soul. So yeah, I recommend you to study foreign languages as well. And one more question. You was talking about the how hard it is to find a job, at least some kind of small job, just to get additional money to a scholarship. And I know that you were working or still work at Starbucks. So can you tell about this experience, how you found the job, and did you enjoy it? How well is it paid, and all this stuff? Because it's important, I guess.
Yeah, so in the US school specifically, if you do not have a green card, you are allowed to work only on campus and only 20 hours a week. So finding a job on campus, I would say like we have a portal, like a job link where they post the jobs in the university. If you just apply to jobs there, never helps. At the end of the day, you still have to like email the supervisor and be like, "Hi, that's me. I'm really interested in the job." So yeah, I do work in Starbucks. People usually leave Starbucks after working for a while. I don't because I really enjoy my job because like it's you talk to people a lot, especially now during COVID times. Here, everything is closed because of COVID. Like we are getting open, but like still not as fun as like Russia is, for example. So it's a very good opportunity to interact with people in Starbucks. So I keep working there. And how I got employed in Starbucks, my friend, like the girl, she's from Sierra Leone, and she was in my high school. She's a year older. she was working there. And I came to her and I'm like, Safi, you need a job. Like, can you employ me to Starbucks? And she's like, no problem. I'll talk to my boss. So she talked to her boss, and then her boss just like looked at my resume, did an interview with me, and that's how I got employed. So conclusion, do networking. Just like ask people, ask around, like go just like don't be afraid to send a bunch of emails. Like I send annoying emails all the time, and that helps, and be just like, oh my god, I'm so interested in your job. My advice is do not say that unless you are interested in the job. I know that like all people like literally just send like the same email everywhere. I mean, I don't like it. Like, I think it's a lie, partly because I really want a person who really wants this job to get a job, and you or me finding like something else. So yeah, just like talk to people, message them, ask your friends around, because like especially in the US, the competitive part is that they get hundreds, thousands of resumes. And if you just talk to the right person, that doesn't mean you're going to get employed. It means that your resume might be reviewed first. And that's where it comes, because they will just start reviewing the resumes. A lot of resumes are going to be skipped just because you're international, and like people just do not want like this pain of like employing international people. So they would be just skipped. But if you're like, if someone comes and be like, look at the resume of this person, then you have way much higher chances. About being paid, well, the jobs on campus, they are less, like they're not as well paid as jobs off campus, but at the same time it's still good money. Like in Starbucks, I get more than the minimum salary of New York State, and it's more than enough. And like at Starbucks specifically, it's like the most well-paid job on campus, because it's fast food, and you get like extra money for working in fast food just because it's like very crowded, and like you actually have a lot of work. So finding a job on campus is possible. Like I would not say that it's very hard. Like if you really want a job and if you really need a job, you probably get it. And if you don't, you can still like message office and like explain your circumstances and be like, I'm this poor student from a poor country, please like advise me where to like find a job. Plus the universities also have the career centers, and people from the career center would be happy to like help you with your resume, with your cover letters, or just in general like advising you where you could apply, and maybe like give you insights to some like on campus or off campus jobs.
So thank you. So the main advice is to be persuasive and always network, have good connections.
Pretty much, yes.
So thank you. I guess we have answered, for example, all my questions are answered. So guys, if you still have something, you have a chance to write it or turn your mics on, or just say thank you to Kseniya, because it was lots of information. I really enjoyed it. I think that we can use it not only for studying abroad, but also generally in our lives and our daily lives, university routine, and all these things. Thank you. We will post the recording of this meeting on our YouTube channel, so you are very welcome to rewatch it afterwards or send it to your peers who are also interested in studying abroad. And thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you guys for coming. Please feel free to send me messages if you want to, and ask pretty much anything you want.
And follow Kseniya on Instagram, because
follow Kseniya on Instagram.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.